Hey guys, it's Snowbiter, and this is a replay I had with the AMX 1390 on Paris. Now, if you're at all familiar with my channel, you'll know that one of the things I like doing a lot in World of Tanks is I like trying to 3-mark tanks. And because I've been fairly successful at it, I've had people ask me before about any tips that I might have that could help them improve their 3-mark percentage, or improve their mark percentage, or get them closer to 3-marking a tank. So I wanted to partly address that in this video. Realistically, I think it's difficult for me to say any one thing that'll help somebody 3-mark a tank or substantially improve their mark percentage. But at a basic level, being able to 3-mark any tank is just about consistency and maximizing what you get out of every battle that you play. So I wanted to kind of focus on that in this video, and in particular just talk a bit about my mindset over the course of a battle as I'm trying to get the most out of it. So as I said, this is a replay I had with the 1390, and you'll notice actually at this point I'd already 3-marked it, but I wanted to show this replay because I thought it would be useful in demonstrating this mindset that I'm talking about. Paris isn't really a great scouting map, and this is a tier 10 matchup, so I'm a little more limited than I might otherwise be. And I would probably have lower expectations for a battle like this than if I were playing on a map that was more scout friendly. But regardless, I'm still going to try to get the most out of it I can. And one of the ways that I like to do this, especially when I'm playing faster tanks such as lights or mediums, is I like to try to take advantage of the period of time, the first minute or so of the game, where the enemy tanks are still trying to get into position. I usually have some kind of play that I like to make on most maps really, where I either can get early scouting damage or early damage off on tanks that are not even in position yet. You'll notice if you look at a lot of the replays that I post to my channel, a lot of times I'm going to be getting in early damage on tanks that aren't even going to be prepared to shoot at me. Now on Paris this can be a little tricky because there aren't really that many options for playing aggressively in the north. And if you go south in a tank that's lightly armored, you're going to end up fighting a lot of heavy tanks, which you don't want to do. So what I typically end up doing if I'm playing a medium or a light tank on this map is I like to try to go into the middle and either spot enemy tanks as they're going south. You can spot them through these long corridors. Or I'll try to get some shots off if somebody else is spotting for me. Since I'm not top tier in this game, I'm going to play more of a scouting role and just kind of peek this corner and see what I can light. And actually, I was surprised I wasn't lit there by that T-54. You saw me start to back away as soon as he showed up, thinking that he would light me, but he must have a bad crew. And I'm just going to kind of sit here on this corner. I've turned my tank around, so if I do happen to get lit, I can run away easily. And just try to spot whatever I can that happens to be crossing south. So you see I've actually already gotten 1500 assist damage because I've had some TDs behind me who are shooting the stuff that I light. And now I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. Our Patton is pushed into the middle, and I got a couple shots on that T-54 because the Patton was able to spot him. You'll notice in that situation that I actually waited to shoot the T-54 until he had actually committed to crossing that opening. I didn't want to shoot at him and scare him into backing off, so I was able to get a couple shots into him as he crossed, and now I'm going to reload. And since we've actually won the middle here, this Patton is pushed up and he hasn't really spotted anything, there's nothing really putting pressure on him, I'm going to move up and take advantage of this map control. From here I can either peek down that 6-7 line and potentially get shots in that direction, or I could get vision on the north and get shots on the TDs that the enemy has kind of camping in the northeast. So I have some good options here depending on what I want to do. I didn't have any great shots on the T-54, so I switched my focus to the north. I saw the 704 and T-95 were trying to move up, and I wanted to try to take advantage of the T-95 since the 704 had gotten into cover, but once the T-95 was angling his tank toward me, I figured I would probably bounce if I tried to shoot him. So I put a couple shots into the 704 up until the point where I felt like he was going to have a chance to shoot me, so I didn't bother taking that last shot. I didn't want to risk it, and since I didn't have another shot available to me, I just decided to reload. That's typically what I'll do with autoloaders. Unless I have another shot that's immediately available, I almost always just reload. I rarely find it's worthwhile to keep a single shot in your clip for a long time, and especially with a tank like the 1390, which after the changes in the last patch, it now has such a short interclip time that it's really not that big a deal to reload in that kind of situation. Now I'm just going to pause the replay here briefly because at this point, if you look at the mini-map, even though my team has only killed 4 tanks, we have significant map control over the enemy team. We've got tanks pushing down the 6-7 line who are probably going to flank the enemy tanks in the south. Our E3 is pushing through the middle, kind of along the E line, and an E3 is a difficult thing to deal with. So he's going to put pressure on the TDs that are kind of camping near the enemy base. And we've still got a pretty good presence in the north, so we're not at risk of losing any of our map control. And so I'm thinking at this point that it's really not going to take very long from this moment on for my team to kind of close this game out. I feel like we're in a really good situation. At the same time, I've been reloaded now for about 10 or 15 seconds maybe, and I've been scanning back and forth a little bit looking for any shots that might be available to me, but I haven't really found anything. And because I feel like the end of this game is going to develop really quickly, I feel like at this point I have to make some kind of move if I want to get the most out of this game that I can. I don't want to stay passive in an autoloader and miss out on an opportunity to do damage. So I feel like I have to make some kind of play. Even if I lose HP, I don't expect it to really matter because I feel like my team has already won this game. That being said, I don't want to do something stupid that gets me killed. The enemy team does still have 11 tanks alive, so if I just kind of YOLO out into the open or into a group of multiple enemy tanks, it's very likely that I could get myself killed. So what I ended up deciding to do is, because I saw this E3 pushing up the E line and there were only 2 tanks spotted in front of him, this T-49 and Grill 15, I decided to push with him, and he kind of backed off a little bit, so I ended up having to take the lead here. But I know I could kill the T-49. I was kind of hoping that maybe I could avoid the grill shot, but he ends up getting a shot into me as well. So I lose 1,000 HP in that engagement, which isn't really a great trade generally speaking. But I was able to empty my full clip. I killed the T-49, and the E3 pushed in behind me, so there was really no risk of me dying in that situation, unless the grill would have put me or set me on fire or something. So I'm back on reload. I decided to go back to the middle because I'm hoping, since the E3 is pressuring that position, that the T-95 and 704 will now be distracted and that I might be able to get shots into their side as they look at the E3. So I peek out once I'm reloaded. The T-95 has his side to me, so I put a shot into his side, pen the first shot, the second shot bounces, and the T-95 ends up turning toward me again for some reason. So instantly I know there's no chance for me to get any more shots on him. I'm not going to waste shots on his front, and I'm not going to risk getting myself killed. So I'm just going to reload instantly and try to relocate south. The enemy still has some tanks alive in the south, and I feel like I should be able to flank them and get a different angle of engagement and probably shoot at them without them shooting back at me. So I'm reloaded again. That quick reload on the 1390 is really great for cleaning up in situations like this. And I have this IS-3 side, put one shot into him, the second shot bounces, and I end up having to juke his shot a little bit there, but I am able to kill him. And I would have gone on reload anyway, even if I hadn't bounced that shot. So that one bounce shot isn't really a big deal here. Now, the grill is the only tank alive. There was really a blitz of action there where my team just kind of crushed the enemy team. And I'm at this point really just hoping to maybe get 1 or 2 shots into him before the rest of my team gets there. Obviously, this is the advantage of being in a fast tank, that you can get to some of this cleanup damage faster than a lot of heavier or slower tanks. And I get 2 shots into that grill at the end, just before the IS-3 my team finishes him off. So that's the end of the replay. This game ended up being really quick. It was very lopsided in favor of my team. But the reason I wanted to show this replay is because I wanted to give you guys a sense of how I approach each battle, both in terms of the opening play that I make, where I try to either get damage or some kind of spotting damage in the first 30 seconds to a minute of the game as the enemy team is getting into position, and then really being able to evaluate what's going on in the game and read the flow of the game, so that at the point where the game seems like it's decided, you can kind of push or force the issue and try to get the most out of the game that you can. So I feel like that play that I made where I went after the T-49 and grill, even though I lost about 1,000 HP in that engagement, if I hadn't made that play or if I'd stayed passive in the middle, I probably would have ended up with less overall damage at the end of the game, because the game developed so quickly from that point on. I think it was about 2 minutes from the point where I made that push on the T-49 and grill to the end of the game. So it's very easy in those kinds of situations to hesitate a little bit or to just play passive, and you can end up missing out on potential damage because of that. I tend to have this aggressive mindset where once I feel like the game is decided, I immediately look for ways to just get more damage or assist damage, regardless of whether or not I have to lose HP to do it. Because you saw in this game, even though I lost 1,000 HP in that one engagement, it didn't end up really costing me the rest of the battle. I still managed to do some damage on that T-95, and then I was able to kill the IS-3 and get some shots into the grill at the very end. On the flip side, you also don't want to play over-aggressive in a situation and get yourself killed where it ends up kind of costing your team. I'd say a lot of times games don't end up being as clear-cut as this one, where my team ended up steamrolling them, and really, regardless of whether I died at that initial engagement with the grill and T-49, my team was probably going to win this game regardless. It's not always as easy to kind of decide that. And there have definitely been situations or games where I've tried to be aggressive, where I feel like my team has won, and my team ends up losing because of potentially my over-aggressive play. So it's a fine line between being too aggressive and being too passive, and you want to be able to try to find that sweet spot. But anyway, that's the end of this replay, and here are the post-game stats. In and of itself, this game wasn't really anything special. I only got a second class badge, and did just over 3.1k damage and about 2k assist damage. But in the context of the way this game went, I feel like I did a pretty good job getting the most out of it that I could. I mean, it was a match on Paris, which isn't really a great map for light tanks or medium tanks. It was a tier 10 matchup, and the game lasted about 5 minutes, so it was really a pretty one-sided game, and it can be kind of difficult in those types of games to do a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and the replay, and hopefully you got a sense of kind of my mindset as I approach these games. And I should point out that, I mean, you can apply this for trying to 3-mark a tank, but really it goes for just, generally speaking as well, if you're trying to grind a tank, you get more experience, obviously, the more damage and assist damage that you get. So this is really just my mindset that I have when I play the game, and hopefully this video is helpful or interesting to you in some way. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.